Good morning. I don't think I will be here tomorrow as well. I apologize. This was not within my control. So we're going to try to the best of our abilities to get through today together, but using technology to help us. In English 10, I am teaching puns. If you remember, Mercutio was full of puns. And I wish I would have seen this cartoon for their class, but I came across it for yours. You have restless legume syndrome. Sorry, I thought it was funny. All right, so let's take a look at our bell ringer. So leadership is the key to getting anything accomplished. What qualities do you think are needed in Congress? And how might those qualities be similar or different to the president? Take a few moments. We'll have the substitute hit pause. And why don't you discuss that at your table for about a minute? Okay, probably the biggest difference between Congress and the president is that Congress is probably required more to be compromising because they're working with either 435 members in Congress or 100 in the Senate. Whereas the president, as we know with our current president, doesn't necessarily need to compromise as much as maybe he should. Also, what makes them different is that regardless of whether it's the president's fault or not, all things land on his desk. He is blamed for everything, even if he doesn't have control over it. Things like the budget and things like how taxes, whether taxes go up or taxes go down. Of course, he can make suggestions, but it's Congress that implements those things. And so Congress, the president, unfortunately, is blamed for absolutely everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, whereas Congress sometimes should take a little bit of that blame themselves. So let's take a look at our objectives today. So today we're going to take our quiz over the House of Representatives, but we're also going to start to review the leadership roles in Congress and what the responsibilities are. Okay? So let's first review a little bit. At your tables, talk about what these different terms mean. Franking privilege, packing versus cracking, censure, reapportionment, redistricting, gerrymandering, incumbent, House and the Senate equals what, why is there 435, and what do demographic statistics, things like gender, color, occupation, financial, education, how does that reflect in Congress versus the United States? We'll have the substitutes hit pause and give you about 2 minutes at this point. All right, you're back. In a very quick review, franking means the mailing privilege that the Congress can send anything off through the House of Representatives or the Senate free of charge. They're not charged for mailing. Packing and cracking has to do with redistricting. Remember when we looked at those graphics that packing means you put all of the same party into the same district. Cracking means that you break up a party, and it has to do with gerrymandering, which is at the bottom of the list. Gerrymandering is drawing lines of congressional districts according to political party. Censure is where, if you remember, I slapped somebody's hand in each of your class. It's like, no, 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 don't do that. And it doesn't necessarily sound like it's a major form of punishment of a House of Representative or a senator, but any congressman who is censured usually tries to retire because they're going to lose their job more than likely in the next election. Reapportionment is what is done at the federal level. Remember, that is when the Census Bureau tells Congress to tell each state how many districts they have. For example, in 2010, Congress told Iowa, you don't have 5 districts anymore, you have 4. And that Minnesota, I know Minnesota didn't go down, but then it went on and told Texas it has more. Then at the state level, okay, at the state level, the state does the redistricting. They're the ones that draw the lines. And remember, every district has to be compact, which means as smallest number of counties as possible. Same size of population, and contiguous. Everything needs to connect. Okay. An incumbent is somebody who has been elected before. House plus Senate equals Congress. Why is there 435 members? Because they ran out of chairs and there just wasn't the site, and that was done in 1929. And remember, the census happened in 1930, so they waited until the last minute. There will never be more members of the House of Representatives. They will just shift among those. And the demographic statistics, remember, Congress does not look like the United States. It's predominantly male, predominantly white, predominantly lawyers, Protestant, married, with children, and financially secure with advanced education. Well, that is not what you find among the American population. The American population, first of all, is 52% female. Not everybody is wealthy. Not everybody has advanced education degrees. Our racial ratios are not the same. So Congress truly does not reflect the American population when it comes to demographics. One part of the quiz is placing things, deciding whether something is the House of Representatives or the Senate. So here we're going to do this together here. Michael Pence is the Senate because he's the Vice President and he's in charge of the Senate. Those that are voted at large, remember at large means across an entire state. They don't have to live in a certain area. That too is in the Senate. 100 members, this is just an accident. Also the Senate, and remember the Senate can grow, has the possibility of growing the Senate. Geez, that was easy. Paul Ryan is the Speaker of the House. Districts are found in the House of Representatives. There are 435 members in the House of Representatives, and it will never grow. Okay, so that one was pretty easy. Okay, the Senate has a 6-year term. Remember, 1/3 of every Senate is up for re-election every 2 years. It may be a 6-year term, but there's elections every other year. The House of Representatives, all of them are up for re-election at the 2-year mark. Okay. Approving treaties is a Senate responsibility. We haven't really talked about that, so don't worry about that. Controlling the money, House of Representatives. A continuous body means that you'll never have an all-new one. That's the Senate. The responsive body means that they can be all re-elected, and they are said to be the closest to the people, and that eventually, if the people are not happy with their government, they take it out on this chamber, and that's the House of Representatives. 1/3 is re-elected every 2 years. That's the Senate, and all of them are up for re-election at the same time. So that's a good review. One more review. What are the qualifications for running House or Senate? Resident, age, citizenship, all the answers apply. In this case, I think all of the answers apply. Remember that depending on what Congress it is, in the Senate, you have to be a resident for 9 years, you have to be 30 years, and you have to live in the state for you have to be a citizen of the state you represent. In the House, you have to be 25 years old, live in the United States for the last 7 years, and a citizen of the state and as well the district. Okay. I don't know what's going on here, but we're going to give this okay, working here. Which is charge of the tax dollars? That would be the House of Representatives. Okay. Which of the following statement is false according to the reapportionment? Reapportionment is not done at the state level. It is done at the federal level. It is done every 10 years. The Senate doesn't have anything to do with it, and they decide the number of representatives that we'll have in Congress. Okay. Redistricting is done at the state level, and what rules must they follow? It must be contiguous, they must have the same population, it must be compact, and all of them were established by Westbury versus Sanders.